Critical Blast, where pop culture gets blasted.
And good evening, everybody. I am RJ Carter, Senior Managing Editor here at criticalblast.com. And if you're like most of the country right now, you are struggling to stay awake as all that tryptophan courses through your system. I've had my turkey dinner lunch and my turkey dinner, so I am all turkeyed out. But that means that it's time for, well, and before you can have that, you've got to do shopping. So that's where the Black Friday business comes in. So joining us tonight, we have our online retailer from the LCS Guys show, Brian Cook, BlastBeatATX on Twitter. Brian, how you doing tonight?
I have had a very busy day already. We are off to the races. People have begun shopping. The party has started.
So you're seeing an uptick in your online sales?
An uptick in number of sales and amount per item. The Christmas season has begun.
What do people buy more from you? Do they buy more comics or do they buy more cards?
Definitely more cards. That's, I guess, I'm more of a subject matter expert in those than any of the other categories. And trust me, I know a lot about the other stuff, but I'm a trusted figure on condition. So I got a lot of repeat customers. And of that group, I got a lot of people kind of buying in bulk now. They're getting 10, 20 cards at a time as opposed to one or two. And, but yeah, we got a lot of comic books are moving. The weird thing about the comic books, and I've said it on the LCS Guys show, if I had to put a year on it, like 96, 95, somewhere there before then, absolutely nothing from this century at all. The old stuff's moving. What they call the key issues, when you got, first appearance, costume change, a mega event, whatever, those are the ones that go for big bucks. But even then, the characters that have long-time followings, Batman, Spider-Man, I even put Spawn in there at this point, that there's regular, here's a comic book that came out once upon a time, those are moving because people are stuck at home and want stuff to do. That's my theory.
That's interesting because we're 20 years removed from the 90s, 25 years removed from the 90s. And I know that when I was a collector in the 90s, the prevailing theory was that, none of this stuff is selling and it won't ever be worth anything. Buy something from 25 years ago and prior. It seems to be, is it always that moving 25-year ago timeline that is the investment level? And if that's the case, can you go ahead and just stock up today and wait the 25 years, play the long game?
Yes, because I think what that bracket is that's the moving definition of vintage throughout the years. And it's about 25 years back. Because when I was a kid, I grew up with Star Wars and Transformers and G.I. Joe and the stuff from the 80s. And then I got older and started reading Wizard magazine. You remember they'd have the toy column in Wizard?
Yeah.
That whoever wrote that, God bless them, can't remember their name at the moment, they made a point of, if you're smart, now that it's 92 or whatever it was back then, start getting the Power Rangers, start getting Pokemon, because the same thing's going to happen again. And lo and behold, it did happen again. So, yeah, I'd say that's where the definition of modern to vintage is that moving 25-year, like in football with the 10-yard marker, it's kind of moving up and down the field.
So my son is 13 now, and when he was 4, on up through when he was 9, we bought all those Imaginext superhero figures and the castles. So we had, the little Fisher-Price plastic movable guys. They're only like 2 inches tall. They got a very friendly smile on them, but they were.
I never even heard of those. The last thing I distinctly remember is I had a bunch of coworkers once upon a time who all had kids who were obsessed with Ben 10. I think whenever it cycles around, that's another one that's going to see a big resurgence in popularity when the time comes.
Well, I was just wondering if I should continue to hang on to them, because hang on just a second here.
I'm not sure if you can still hear me or not. You got how your audio set up. Howdy, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. Hope you had a good holiday. Hey, Houston won today. Beat the Lions. Yeah, but they did win. And the Yahoo coach is gone that was ruining Deshaun Watson's career. So, just telling the people about the Texans-Lions game today.
Okay. Yeah, usually have stuff right in arm's reach whenever I talk about it. This was a couple of legs away reaches. These things right here.
Wow. Cool. No, I've never seen those before.
Yeah, they're Fisher Price Imaginext. They even had a DVD out of one Super Friends show. But I've got all of them, all the superhero versions. I don't have the castles anymore. I call them castles, but there were like 5 different bat caves over the course of 7 years that they had that all did different things. And their feet, it's got the pegs in them, and they're shaped all the same way, every one of them, because the vehicles and the houses had these action discs on them. You'd put them on it, and then you could turn the character, turn the disc if you wanted, but turn the disc, and then the drawbridge would go up or down, or the bat signal would pop up, or the vehicle would fire its cannon. All kinds of
very cool. And yes, I would hang on to them for 2 reasons. One, it just passes my cool test. I think I've told you that before, that when I evaluate an item, it's just, is this something I'm even interested in at all? If I'm taking, I don't know, a bus or a subway or something, I got a 10-minute ride. Is this going to hold my attention for 10 minutes? Does it pass the cool test? But the other thing is it's the licensed DC stuff. Those comic books I was telling you about, collectors wise, there is nothing special about them. That's back when they would print 200,000 copies per month of all these titles. It's the ones that have like 50 to 100 years of backstory and continuity to them, the tentpole kind of characters. Those are the ones that are just constantly in demand throughout the years.
So do you think there will be a noticeable, I guess it's hard to say because you wouldn't have anything to compare it against.
I might. What I would compare it to is going back to the 80s when I was a kid. I remember the Fish Police had a cartoon for I think it was 1 season on CBS. And it was always caught my brain that was a comic book first. And yada, yada, years later, I see the Fish Police issues in the quarter bin. It's like, oh, I'll buy them for 25 cents and sell them for $2. That didn't work out. Nobody remembers it. No one cares. It's like a dead or deactivated property. It didn't keep going like Batman does every year.
Yeah, but I was thinking kind of differently on this. Is the Mile High guy just recently was in the news because he had storage sheds that were supposed to be secure and weren't. And the article I think it was just last month this came out. His storage sheds had been broken into, and nobody really stole anything so much as they just kind of hung out in there and trampled everything. And he had boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes of 90s comics that he was letting, what's the word they use for wine?
I let it age and mature or whatever. I know what you mean.
Yeah, he was letting that happen. And apparently it was just hundreds of thousands of dollars of comics just ruined. So does that, you would think that if there was a glut that somebody had reserved in one spot gone, that now the rest of them are going to be a little bit more rare. We know that there was a huge destruction of a lot of them now.
And you got to take it on a case-by-case basis. Thank God with Marvel and DC, in the back of them once a year, they used to have to print the print run information for the post office, so you can get real numbers of how many of them were printed. And some astronomical stuff. I mean, books that were considered failures would have 120,000 copies printed. Just mind-blowing. But eventually, yes, the supply will dry up. The problem with the value going up isn't the supply drying up, is the demand increasing. Because we got to pick on somebody, right? Let's pick on Quasar. Quasar is a F-list Marvel character, but is one of those guys that had 120,000 copies a month for a few years there. There's no one who's on the lookout for that Quasar book. That's the part of the equation that needs to change.
Yeah, I don't know what is the print run today to be in the top 10. We talked about this on the LCS Guys show when Don Chin, who's in the chat. Hey Don, appreciate you being here. Mentioned that he did 60,000 of his adolescent radioactive black belt hamsters in the day. And
I think 60,000 will get you number one now.
Yeah, that would be huge.
I'm trying to remember, what was the last one that broke 100,000? Was that? I know Spawn 300 did big numbers, but also the modern stuff, they'll do 20 different variant covers and retailer incentives, and adding the 30 different variations of it together is how they get to their million or whatever. And I mean, just pure sales, people lined up around the block for something. What was the last big one? Ultimate Spider-Man #1?
I don't remember Ultimate Spider-Man being that big.
I mean, maybe that was just where we were. It caught fire in Texas immediately. People were really on the lookout for that one. That's the last one that really sticks out in my mind.
I know that Punchline book sold out, but there were like no lines. It's like somebody ran into each store and just grabbed them all and walked out.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm talking about the anticipation before it comes out.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything like that since Death of Superman.
Yeah. The Ultimate line. I guess it's more the Ultimate line than just Ultimate Spider-Man. But I remember there was people were really looking forward to that. That's probably when the diminishing return started. I remember people were looking forward to Pat Lee at Dreamwave and the Transformers books once upon a time, but not as many as were looking forward to X-Force #1. You know what I mean? That's probably about when the slide started.
Yeah, I think it was, because I know that that was about the same time that
like 2004, somewhere around there.
Yeah. Are we gonna get? I don't know if we're ever gonna get that heyday back again or not.
I really think it's maybe not a literal return to newsstand distribution, because the physical copy of everything's kind of on the downside of its life cycle as a product, but having that. Everyone I know, everyone started reading comic books because they rode their bike to the gas station, or their mom was shopping for groceries and there was a spinner rack at the grocery store, some kind of story like that. That's how everybody got into them. So something needs to fill that void.
Yeah, I don't know what it's going to be, because with the loss of the Comics Code Authority, that's what Walmart was. That's what really killed the newsstand industry. Michael Tierney's talked about that. Walmart was carrying comic books. They got rid of the CCA. A mother picks up a book, finds something that she doesn't like, tells Walmart. Walmart doesn't want the problem. Walmart quits carrying the product, and that's a huge. You lose a huge distribution chain like that, and it's just a hit.
Well, I look at that very differently as an adult now. The Comic Code Authority, because I'm the biggest free speech person you're ever going to meet in your life. I'm not saying anything about put a lid on these crazy stories. No. A good example of it is the other day on the Joe Rogan podcast, his guests were a couple of Texas heroes, Willie D of the Ghetto Boys and Mike Judge from King of the Hill and Beavis and Butthead and all the movies, right? And Mike Judge made the point of everyone has forgotten how often Beavis and Butthead got sued by concerned parents and concerned teachers and all that. The Comics Code Authority, the reason Walmart likes it is protects them against those kind of frivolous ambulance-chasing lawsuits.
Yes. And who can blame them? They're not in the business to protect free speech. They're in the business to make money.
And they don't want to do it 50 times, once in every state. It's you got to draw the line somewhere. And yeah, I don't think people thought ahead like that.
It's just easier not to carry it than it is to deal with the problems of it.
Walmart is in the business of selling Xboxes and televisions and oil changes and gallons of milk. They could care less about comic books and baseball cards and magic cards. They'll kick it out if it causes any problems.
But they'll sell your your Xbox, but they will not sell you any rated MA games. And that's why people hate the rating system, because Walmart can rely on it. And if the games were suddenly unrated, guess what? They not only wouldn't sell any MA games, they wouldn't sell any games, because they would not take the risk.
I remember, I'm old enough to remember that when you had people like Nirvana and White Zombie and most rap albums from back then, they had the censored version, and the censored version was from Walmart. And that's where you and your band and your manager and agent and everybody, y'all need to have a meeting and make a decision. If you want to be the flag flying, wear punk rock, no one's going to tell us what to do. This is America. You could do that, but you're not going to be sold in Walmart and Target. Now, if you are sold in Walmart and Target, there are places in this country like North Dakota. That's the only place to buy records. Now we got Amazon. I'm talking about 1990, whatever back then. So it was an important decision to make. And a lot of people did that and toned it down and whatever and did very well. And it backfired for some. It's not a one size fits all. You got to take it case by case.
That was all Tipper Gore doing that, which is interesting because she's not exactly a conservative. She was coming from the other side of the political spectrum where you would not expect,
she got her precious DC feathers ruffled by, of all people, Prince. That was the real target of her rage because one of the daughters brought a Prince record home. There was a really good movie about those hearings that VH1 made, of all people. Remember they do those TV movies about, the history of the Temptations or whatever? Yeah. The one where, was it John Denver, Dee Snider, and Frank Zappa team up against all the senators' wives? That was a really, really good movie, but it explains that whole what happened and how and why.
Oh, well, Brian, we got Brian in the chat. He's asking if you've got any IDW Transformers Collection Phase 2 comics in a single lot. So if that's part of your inventory.
If he's looking for single issues, I will need to check because they are in a different portion of the estate here. But no, I'd have to go look through the long boxes. If he's talking about those hardcovers that have surged in popularity lately, I do not have any of the hardcovers. I might have some of the... I do not like calling them floppies. They are single issues to me.
I think he's talking about single issues because he's talking about in a lot. So I would guess that would be not a lot of hardcovers, but a lot.
I'm going to get you the link real quick. The best place to hit me up for those kind of questions and anything else, if you just want to know how it's going or whatever, hit me up on Twitter, BlastBeatATX. So hit me up there. Let me take a look after the show. I think so, but let me double check. I know I have a ton of the Dreamwave ones.
All right. There you go. Brian, hit him up there. And now you talked earlier about you selling cards, and it's because you have a reputation as being really good at evaluating the condition of a card. Do you are you like Michael is with comics? He does work for CGC, and he was part of the kicking all that off and grading it. Do you work with any card grading services?
I was about to say not yet. No, I would very much like to. I think I mentioned the second college degree I went back and get, and I left that company. It was in civil drafting specifically, but I know mechanical drafting with AutoCAD and that whole suite of software. Yeah, it would not hurt my feelings to work for one of these grading companies and work with them on their holders. But no, as far as grading, I'm not exactly sure what the process is to, one, become a grader, and who are the people you want running your team, and who are the people you wouldn't let in the front door. Because there has been some things, we'll chalk it up to mistakes. I'm not going conspiracy on anybody, but I think it was 2 years ago, Beckett accidentally graded a fake Pearl Mox, fake Magic card.
Yeah, the Magic the Gathering card. I do remember that. Yep. You had mentioned that there's a new grading service, though, coming out, so it's going to be sort of a competition. I don't know of any. When I think of graded comics, I just think CGC is like, one name, single source of truth kind of thing. I don't know if having multiple grading services, it's good for competition, but I can see confusion in the marketplace where you're like, well, you got graded by this people, and I really like it when it's graded by these people because they do this and that to the book, whereas these people maybe aren't so stringent. And then, of course, that's going to cause different columns in price guides if you're ever going to start keeping track of that kind of thing.
Yep. No, you're describing modern sports cards right there. Yeah, there's 3 established companies. PSA is somewhere in Orange County. They're in Southern California. Beckett, formerly of the Price Guides, is now a grading service, and they're in Dallas, Texas. And good Lord. Okay, the new one is CSG. SCG is the third one, and they're based in Florida. So you got 3 established one new one. The new company took 2 of the lead graders from Beckett. So it's not some guy that he was working at Taco Bell last week or something like that. They're, changing teams and getting to run the show over in the new thing. But the reason there's enough demand for now a 4th established legitimate grading service is the backlog with the other 3. It is a 6-month turnaround time, and it's taking forever. And you'd mentioned earlier or a second ago about the difference between the companies. There's a forum called Blowout Cards. That's an old school message board. And that's the biggest nonstop argument on there is the difference between the companies. So-and-so grades easy. So-and-so grades hard. So-and-so lets this slide. Well, I don't like this. Well, I don't. It's almost never positive. It's just different complaints about them. And you got to kind of piece the truth together yourself.
Yeah, I could see that you would want to you might get a card back from a grading company that you don't like the grade, so you just crack the case and send it to a different one. And keep sending it out to
have a different guy go through it. Oh yes, they do that.
Oh boy, that's quite a mess.
Because it's the difference. When I say modern stuff, I'm talking about 1975 to now. So then you got 75 to, let's say, 45 is the vintage era, and before 45, you heard the phrase pre-war cards.
Yeah,
they can't play that game. I don't have enough poker chips. But with the vintage stuff, a Pete Rose rookie, a difference between an 8 and a 9 is thousands of dollars. So yeah, that's not only do we want to get it right, we want to get it as high as possible. And then the grading company's point of view, or from their perspective, they got to watch out for all the fraud, all the people trimming cards and touching them up and modifying them, because they'll go out of business if they get a reputation of they can't spot the fakes.
I bought my when I was in college, I talked about how I got jobs at comic shops just by showing up and starting working there. One of them had a card shop in the back, and I took some of the money that I did earn and bought a card there for my brother. This was 1987, so my brother was like 13 at the time, and collecting baseball cards. I got him a Topps Nolan Ryan rookie card. I don't know if he can retire on that yet or not, but it was 30 years ago, so it's had time to appreciate.
Was that the 66, the rookie card with the 2 players on it?
No, it just had 1 player. It has a big head on it.
Oh, okay, that one. Hey, I could look it up. Anyone can on their own. I don't believe if it's the card I'm thinking of, even at like a PSA 10, the Gem Mint condition, like low 5 figures. I'd be surprised if it was over 20,000 for a PSA 10.
Over 20,000? Okay, well, yeah.
No, yeah, okay, over would. No, I think probably at 10 for a perfect one is probably more realistic.
Not bad for a $120 card. Okay.
And that's just it. The drop down from a 10 to a 9 is probably 50%. Seriously, it is a big cliff. You just plunge down.
We had a question on Twitter earlier today when I announced that we were going to be doing this. They asked about non-sport cards and WWE cards. So I'm guessing WWE straddles that line between non-sport and sport cards because you have to be athletic, but it's not really a sport.
Yeah, they are. And the Topps has the WWE license, so it's the same people who do the baseball cards. That's a whole very, very quickly. The manufacturers and the different sports leagues and people like the WWE, they learned the lesson of overprinting. We got to keep it under control. So each league is done by one company. Upper Deck has hockey. Panini has 2. Panini has the NBA and the NFL. Topps has Major League Baseball. Topps has the WWE. Topps has Star Wars. It's kind of if we're going to do one, we're doing all of this one thing. So the wrestling cards have the benefit of all the modern technology with, the jersey cards so they can put the relic in there and the autographs and the serial numbered. Same thing is what the baseball cards look like. And the market works the same way. It's just there's not as many collectors as there are in baseball, but there's still millions of them. And yes, the cards are worth money.
Yeah. Well, this is interesting here. Robert Robertson in the chat says, speaking as a former on-demand print shop assistant, we are quickly moving to where on-demand print shops can print indistinguishable copies of large press prints, like especially cards. We printed Magic the Gathering cards for some locals where I worked. I didn't know Magic the Gathering cards were valuable at the time, but he paid us to get the proper card stock for them. How big of a problem is that on the aftermarket to find out that you bought a Magic the Gathering card that was done up at Kinko's?
Oh, it's a huge problem. And there's a YouTube channel, account, whatever we're calling this stuff these days, called Alpha Investments. And I like where he'll cut open the holders. There's a way you could do that without damaging the card and pull it out and let's take a look at it. Do kind of behind the scenes stuff. And he goes deep into the fake Magic cards. And yeah, people can do it on a one-on-one basis, like in the comment there. The big problem is China, because China can pump them out at like industrial strength, fill up those ocean liners with pallets of cards, and Lord knows what's going on. So there's ways to check. It's basically, long story short, you got to be vigilant. You got to always be on the lookout for it. Know the early warning signs, and if anything sounds too good to be true, it probably is. There's no Black Lotus for $100 or any of that kind of stuff.
No, and I would think you could look at them like you do the toys you find at your Dollar Tree. It's like, oh look, I have a Sora Angel. Wait, isn't that supposed to be something different? Sarah Angel, I think.
But no, if they've got the paper stock right, it is really, really hard to tell. One of the easiest ways to tell, imagine Eli Manning here is a Magic card. You know those book lights that you can like hook on a hardback and it'll shine the book when you're laying in bed? If you take that and put on the back of the card, if it's real, the light will shine. If it's fake, the light will block it because the paper stock's too thick. But if they got the right one, but then again, if you're that good of a counterfeiter, why not just start counterfeiting money?
Well, yeah.
It's seriously
attention, I think.
Yep. But no, it's a real problem. The FBI has a squad. I think they're based in Southern California. The book is called Operation Bullpen, and they bust an autograph ring with a guy who could perfectly fake Mickey Mantle's autograph.
Oh, goodness. Looks like BAP2's already had issues with counterfeiting too. I learned that the hard way with the Transformers Masterpiece figure. Yeah, you probably got one of them Dollar Tree kind of knockoff ones that somebody opened up.
What I've heard is for the big money stuff, the worst and largest amount of fraud is Star Wars collectibles. So when you're at the big shows, like in Texas, we got the TriStar shows that are thousands of tables. And you got those guys that this is a Stormtrooper helmet that was used in the movie. This is the real lightsaber. All that crap was made in a garage somewhere. All of it's fake.
Yeah, I can believe that. Now, the figures I showed you earlier here, as far as keeping them and finding money, it doesn't matter that it's no longer in the package. Obviously, this has been taken out and played with. It hasn't been, chewed up by the dog or taken out in the sandpit or anything. It's in decent play shape, but
everyone's got to remember their fractions from school. So let's say that's the Magic Chase figure, just so we can work with an even number. It's $100. It's worth $100. What that means is perfect in the package. There's no creases. There's no price tags. The museum quality example, that's worth $100. You open it, instantly 50% off. So a mint condition, perfect open one, now you're down to 50. And if the paint scuffs, that takes another 10% off. And it's just you're taking off points.
Okay.
And that's seriously, it's how you grade that stuff. But that's where the sliding scale comes in.
Well, they've all been opened, and I've got them all in like a plastic bucket now. He has over several hundred of these, and we would look for the hard to find ones too. We got the Martian Manhunter.
Oh yeah,
Man. So
No, if you look on eBay, I was a big GI Joe. I was not a collector because every one of those GI Joe toys got played with when I was 8 years old. But open figure, lost all the guns, still has mud in between the things, and those sell for like $15. It's not thousands and thousands, but they're worth something.
It's not a quantity. All right, so what have you got up on your market tonight here? And let's get a link to the folks so they can see what your online store is. No, I don't have that yet. So
give me 2
actually,
seconds.
I have it. It's in my boilerplate for the LCS guys show. Boom, boom. I got it.
We can actually tick off some of these other points. Yeah, the new grading service, that's probably the biggest legit piece of news because they're hiring the right people, and if they can get their stuff back to people quicker, we may have a stew going, as the joke on Arrested Development says. Magic the Gathering is doing a little weird in terms of its market performance, and a lot of that is, I think, the lockdown and COVID, and I'm not trying to go down that road, but reality does interfere with a lot of this fun stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
No more Friday Night Magic. There's no tournaments. People are still playing online, but I said in the last LCS show that the MTG Arena software isn't like playing across from someone on a table in person. I don't want to say it's gone down in popularity. It hasn't, but that money that, like a lot of people play with their kids, right? So if you're the parent, you got the kids, and we're going to budget, $100 a month, we're going to buy a box of cards. That $100 is going to something else nowadays in the budget, So a lot of that, it'll come back eventually, maybe, but for the moment, it's that super rare collectors, variant art, all that stuff is going through the roof, and it's tanking the values of the regular cards. I hate to see it because I'm a Magic player, but that's what's happening.
I must not have copied your link right. Boy, I've got your link all wrong in my boilerplate. I'm gonna have to fix that. Yeah, you caught me, Robert. Get that fixed there in the chat, and I'm going to go fix it in my boilerplate so the next time we run an LCS guys show, I've got the right link there. Whew.
It should be, but a couple of T-shirts and an Ice Cube cassette are the featured items. Go Ice Cube.
Go, go, go. Yeah, I mean, I've got, of course, my eBay, but what have I got? I've got one figure out there, guys. I'll share it with you if you're an action figure collector. It's just one of these chase figures. I happened to run across it at Walmart. I said, maybe I should pick it up. It was cheap enough. So I'll try to flip it. Could be totally wrong in trying that. It's that gold, all gold Joker from the Cape Crusader series from Spin Master. So it's a Batman action figure. They're 4 inches tall. So,
and yeah, this is the game because it may not work out, but everybody has a horror story about the time you could have done it and you didn't, and it did, so it's just part of being alive.
Oh, well, yeah, you talked about Wizard Magazine in their toy section. I lived in North Carolina for a while, and the nearest Walmart was like 20 miles away. And it was super Walmart, so they were still open 24 hours a day. This is, the freedom of the pre-COVID world. And we had gone that Saturday afternoon. And I'm always walking around the toy department. I'm looking. This was when the Total Justice action figures were out, the DC superhero Total Justice line. And I looked and I saw, there's an Aquaman with a silver shoulder plate, and there's one with a gold one, and there's one with a gold one. Oh, the rest of them are all silver. Oh, those gold ones must be the chase ones, I guess. Picked up my Wizard magazine, went home, was reading it that night, and I was looking in the price guide, and there's the Aquaman with the gold one. It says variant is like, $37. I'm like, we gotta go back to Walmart. So at 11 o'clock at night, she's getting in the car. We're going all the way back to Walmart to see if they still got those 2 chase figures. Of course they did. It was North Carolina. There was no huge market in that area. She's, I can't believe you dragged me all the way back to Walmart to buy 2 toys in the middle of the night. But I did. and I have no idea if I ever sold them or not.
No, but that's what you have to do to get that stuff. I mean, here in Austin, we still don't have any of the sealed wax boxes of the sports cards. I mean, they're coming in on the truck, but people are buying them up. They're waiting there for the vendor to get there. And it personal opinion, I think it's still in a bubble with the sealed product. But the fact is that, is it a bubble if it's been going for 6 months like this? That's a serious bubble. Who knows? Maybe it is. I'm not the Wizard of Wall Street, not yet. But can't keep the things in stock. And I guess it's a good problem to have.
Yeah. And Bap2 says the only Magic the Gathering cards he's interested in is the Godzilla cards. Is there a crossover between Magic the Gathering and Godzilla that I'm unaware of right now?
Those collector's boxes I was telling you about that very long, boring, uninteresting story, very quick. The typical, when I say a box of card, 36 packs with the plastic around it, that's a booster box. Those are the ones that the value is getting killed right now, because then you have the set box, which is 24 packs in you get 2 box topper cards with it. So basically you get extra fancy stuff, but a smaller amount. And then you have the collector's box, which is this really fancy, almost plastic case that it has 12 packs. And it has the ones that it's all alternate art, crossover cards, all this. They're finally doing like the sports cards and doing the really super limited stuff. But yeah, they've done all the Godzilla and the monsters, Mothra and all them. They've done the Walking Dead. I can't remember who the next crossover is supposed to be. I know the Power Rangers were rumored, but they've announced the next one. I can't remember it. But yeah, you're starting to see that where you could play Negan has a magic card. You can have it in your deck.
Oh, see, somebody, I don't know when they started doing that, but somebody at Wizards of the Coast was listening to my live streams.
It was last year. It must have been right before the lockdown. It must be probably like Christmas time last year. Was that when that Godzilla one came out?
Yeah, because see, I had thrown the idea out there to folks that all these Comicsgate people were putting trading cards in with their campaigns, and I was like, if somebody was smart, they would come up with a collectible card game, throw out a basic set with characters, artifacts, and powers and whatever have you, and sell that, and then give the rules as open source to all these other people. Says, yes, you can print your own generic collectible comic card game card and put it in your campaign. And here are the rules for making the card so that you don't get too powerful, you don't sell yourself short. And then suddenly, and with this tier, you get a Cyber Frog card for the collectible card game that's sold by so-and-so, and you can throw that in your deck and make it playable. It's just, and now I'm seeing that, okay, Magic the Gathering is playing Walking Dead cards.
I think a lot of that is the pressure from Hasbro. That I forget what year it was, 2004 or something. Hasbro owns Wizards of the Coast, which owns Magic the Gathering, and it's something like the games division of Hasbro is responsible for 40% of their profit. The games division is Magic the Gathering. I mean, yep. Monopoly's popular. They're not selling that many Monopoly kits. It's all the Magic cards.
But you know what? I wonder if that's true this year, Brian, because I know early on in this COVID crisis that I would make it to Walmart, and I noticed that the board game section had been pretty picked through.
I may be speaking 12 months ago pre-lockdown language. Yeah, that may not be the case right here this moment. You're correct.
I mean, and we bought one.
For 2019, Magic was responsible for a giant chunk of Hasbro's money.
Yeah. I've got a friend who's real big into tabletop games. He used to bring some of them over. He's moved on since, but he got us on one that I had to go out and find for my son. Kind of a chunk of change for the game, but certainly playable. King of Tokyo, and it's it's a dice rolling game with monsters that are either in or out of Tokyo fighting each other and taking it. It's a fun game. Also, Ticket to Ride was another one, which is fairly expensive to get, but
I have been
engaging.
Putting serious thought about getting an unopened real deal version of the Nemesis game and putting that one away. I think that's going to be remembered as launching a new wave of this stuff.
The Nemesis game. I'm not familiar with that one.
That is I don't know. I was about to say a board game for adults. I mean, it's not as cutesy as the comic book for adults. It's the for adults parts is the rules are super complicated. You almost need a bachelor's degree in calculus to play the game.
Okay, so Cards Against Humanity is for adults.
Yes, but it's a board game that is based on the first Alien movie. So it's like a haunted house with the high technology, but with a horror bent, and they kind of got away with like it's all done so lovingly that Fox or whoever owns the Aliens didn't give them any grief about using it. But it started this whole new wave of modern games. Let's make them tougher to play. Let's make some new stuff. It's not based on old properties. And that Nemesis game is like $1,000 now, maybe more. Yeah, it is expensive.
They just quit making them.
This company, whatever the company is, you know what? We're right here. Give me 2 seconds. What was the name of that company that made the game? Nemesis board game. There we go. Awaken Realms. They're the ones that have the designers that come up with all these rules and play systems and all the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
And it was a game changer. I know that's kind of a cliche thing to say, but it's true. I hadn't given thought to board games in years before this one came along.
Now I know Monopoly has been for years putting out different branded versions of itself. Are any of those ever really collectible? Like I used to have the Star Wars one with the coin. I sold it. I flipped it on eBay 20 years ago.
I think it depends on the property. I know the Simpsons one is in high demand.
Okay. I have a Justice League of America one still in the shrink wrap.
I know the Star Wars ones aren't because they did like 10 different ones. And when they did the classic trilogy one, I remember Target having like an entire shelf of those games. There's no shortage of copies of those. But yeah, that link I put in there, that's the game. So if anyone's got an extra however many, if you're a tech millionaire who's a fan of this show, this is something you might want to invest in.
Go out and get your Nemesis game. I like the idea of it, and goodness knows we got time to play board games now. We're all stuck at home.
No kidding.
Do you have anything on your eBay store you want to push out and let people know that is out there to pick up? I mean, we put the link out there, but
I'd say not just for me, but for everybody. And I mean everybody. If you're in the business of being in business, T-shirts are an easy money maker and almost a currency unto themselves at this point. My T-shirts I have on my store are vintage concert T-shirts, and especially of like those mid-level bands where they didn't sell millions of records and play giant arenas, but you've heard of them. They had that song in that movie. Those kind of bands, those are the ones that are worth hundreds of dollars because they've got the fans, but the quantity isn't there, right? And
right.
With the newer properties, people, brands, all that fancy talk, everyone who's crowdfunding a comic book should have a shirt. Everyone who's like you or me and has these small businesses, we should have shirts. People will collect the shirts on their own. People who don't even know what you do or care about it, if you've got something cool that they'll wear, they'll get it. There's a million reasons to do it, and I can't think of any downside. Yes, exactly. Just like that. Everybody needs to be doing that. That is not going away.
So, like I said, you're talking about real T-shirts here, not the stuff that we put out on our TeePublic store for people.
All of it.
Really?
I've even tried to. I've dug out some stuff that was like one of them was from back in college. That you have the welcome back party at the dorms or whatever. That it was a Fear Factor parody logo, and I don't know. I haven't sold it yet, but I'm using that as a weather balloon to see how much interest is out there. Because with the music stuff, I've been very surprised with the reaction and the comic book stuff too.
Now, of course, this was a political year, so our political T-shirts something people should be putting away, and doesn't matter whether the guy won or lost.
Traditionally, before this last election cycle, I'd say yes, because there was a market for that. And I'm thinking about like more my grandparents, you know, the 50s Eisenhower era, that they'd get the campaign pins, and it wasn't this hardcore partisan up yours attitude that we have now. So maybe, but I say maybe because maybe this is just going to remind people of a really bad time and bad vibes and that kind of stuff. It could be they don't want to remember this. It was in my notes here. It's kind of like the SJW stuff and the Big Two and all their crazy creators putting out their half-assed comic books. That's tied to this time period. You know, and even if you win your political battle and all that, you're focusing on the wrong thing because none of you work in the White House. You work for the Big Two, right? And you're not going to have that wave of nostalgia come back in style later on because you're going to be so tied to this black eye in history, you know?
Yeah, that would be kind of like if they made comic books in the Depression.
Yes.
Which they didn't because it didn't have
celebrating it.
But can you imagine if the comic books in the Depression and that's all they were about was like, well, another day of farming, that damn Roosevelt.
I'm going to eat a turnip for dinner. You know, no one wants to read that.
Yeah, we'd be looking back like, boy, they suffered. I don't want to read that book again.
Yeah. So I would compare it. Do you remember the New Universe? No, no. Robert Roberts. No, that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. That's Where's the Beef? That's Morton Downey Jr. Does anyone remember that? You know, yeah. You don't, trust me, all you young whippersnappers out there, you don't want to be Morton Downey Jr. That ended badly. It reminds me of the New Universe, that thing that Jim Shooter did that was his last hurrah at Marvel. It's so poorly remembered that I don't even think those things go in the quarter bin. I think they go in the trash at this point. It's everything I'd say within the last 5 years, that's the direction it's headed. With a few exceptions, there were some people that kept their head down and let's just tell good stories and draw good artwork. But the trendy stuff, and I'm trying to be careful in my language, is to not pick a side because both sides are going to end up in the same place, and that's the recycling bin.
Yeah, and Robert's question about AOC's comic book aging well, there were a lot. This is probably the biggest year for political parody comic books that I've ever seen. Everybody had a Trump book. Some people had a Biden book. There was the AOC book that was out. Now there's the AOC book that's, you know, her biography, and every, I think Tidewater Comics always does that biography book of everybody who's out there. But then there was also the not the Amazing AOC, but something like that, where they had her in a Spider-Man
costume. Like hold the American flag up or something like that.
Yeah, and it's that one's all over the top comedy as well. But I don't know if that's great investment or not.
No, like I said, it's too controversial. It's one of those things that, you know, it would turn off a lot of people to have to bring that thing to the register and have the cashier look at you funny. Like you need to explain why you're buying this. Like it's an issue of Penthouse or something, you know? It's definitely, that's one of those big thumbs down that's going to keep it from having a secondary market value. But then again, it could be what I call the serial killer group, the people who like, you know, John Wayne Gacy's old underwear and stuff. You know, if you're one of these really hardcore, I love the Democrats, I work for whatever, maybe they want it. But are those the kind of people that will buy another comic book? Are they interested in an issue of the Avengers?
Well, yeah, and I think it is the hardcore fans, you can call political junkies fans of their political side, who are buying it. But, you know, I see things like the Magnificent Seven from Mike S. Miller, which I bought 2 of because I bought the first one and it showed up, and my wife is a big Trump fan. She's like, "This is mine," and I never saw it again, so I had to buy another one. And then Keen Spot did like Trump's Titans, and I'm like, okay, that's selling now, but I'm old enough to remember Reagan's Raiders, which turned the entire Reagan cabinet into a team of super soldiers raiding drug cartels in South America. And I don't know that that's selling all that well today. So I don't think there's a big demand for it.
No. I also, wasn't Reagan's Raiders like Marvel during the beginning of their overprinting era? That could be part of that too.
Well, Reagan's Raiders was done by Solson Publications.
Oh, no, I'm thinking of something else.
So it was, it was definitely not one of the big 2. It probably would have lasted if it had been done by one of the big 2. How do I get my T-shirts past the press company? Don't they? Well, first of all, my X-Men comic, the X-Men stuff is somebody else's design. TeePublic is more fan art, and the Doctor Who is not Doctor Who. Obviously, I should probably share that picture so everyone knows what we're talking about here. Let me share my screen. They're talking about the TeePublic store here. And it's not like I haven't had ones kicked off of here before. The thing is, it's funny. Here's the Doctor Who one that he was referring to. This one is our exclusive design, but I did have a Coexist T-shirt, Brian. You've seen the bumper stickers with all the symbols. Only my Coexist started with a Pac-Man, and then the OE was an outline of a Constitution class Federation starship. So you had the O and the nacelles as the E, and then an X-wing fighter was the X, and it went on from there. TARDIS was the I. And when NBC put out the new Star Trek series, they put a pin in that shirt and said, we're reviewing this. Now, it didn't say Enterprise on it anywhere. It wasn't even detailed. It was a silhouette of the ship. It didn't even have the Enterprise logo around the saucer section. But yeah, they pulled that rather than get into a battle with NBC over that. But most of the time, it's like, if it's not, I was going to say if it's not obvious, but if you just look up any superhero T-shirt on the TeePublic site, you'll find just about anything. This is, of course, these are the ones at the top are going to be our specific ones. Well, I guess they were. Now this Wolverine one is not ours. This one we're sharing somebody else's design, which is something else that TeePublic lets you do. If you see something you want to put it in your store, you can. All the money still goes back to the original artist, and you get a referral fee on it. So we would make like a nickel on selling this shirt or the Thanos shirt.
I know.
Yeah, the ones that are ours are the voter fraud, which is the newest one in here. The learn to code, the 2 fake news ones, and then the Mark Wade run here, the rusty chainsaw, in a cocaine heartbeat, and fix this now, which were all phrases that he used in his interview with Ethan Van Sciver way back in the day. That's how old those are. Obviously, we've got the Mockingbird mocking shirts, the Chick-fil-A, the official chicken of Jesus, the logo, and then the last one that's ours is the H.R. Giger stuff, which I had commissioned the artwork for that one. I had the Doctor Who one commissioned too by an artist, so both of these were sold to us with the rights to use them however we wanted. And then everything else after that is just stuff I saw on TeePublic that I was like, that would look good in our store. I'll just carry that too. I could clean it up some, but we sell so few that I don't pay a whole lot of attention to the TeePublic store.
But I told you earlier, I'm a big free speech person. To me, that fits the definition of fair use. No one is taking your T-shirt profits and buying a Lamborghini. It's just promoting the business and, the whole tip of the hat to something you either like or the fans will get. It's not hardcore propaganda. It's okay to be funny. At least I thought it was.
Well, it used to be, but, we've got a lot of people now who are very literalist. They don't understand the subtlety and nuance and similes and metaphors. You say, someone over there is working like a dog. It's, did you literally just call them a dog?
Yes. Yeah. Okay, I dropped a link in our private chat, and it's for a book that here's my Christmas present to America. Everyone should read this book called The Media Monopoly by Ben Bagdikian. I had to read it in college. It's very eye-opening, but it explains how all this crap with the corporations owning the media outlets and all these weird things with the rights, how this stuff happens. Everyone should really, really read that, having lived through this year. But you had mentioned earlier about people not getting the rights to their old stuff back. Metal band I like a lot called Testament. They've been around since the 80s. They've been on a trillion different record labels. This is horrible. They've got 2 albums sitting at 490,000 copies. 500,000 is gold. They're both owned by Atlantic Records. Atlantic refuses to do a new printing on them. They could easily rip off 2 printings of 10,000 copies and push both of those albums over the line and won't do it because it's not, feasible in their cost benefit analysis. That's why I hate that stuff.
Yeah. And, it's just people don't, I don't know why they wouldn't do that. You would think it would be good publicity for them to say, hey, an artist on our label is now a double platinum or has 2 platinums, double platinums if you sold twice as much as a platinum.
No. I think a lot of it's, you're not with us anymore. So the whole thing with similar kind of stuff with Spotify. There's a band I like called Acid Bath that, a lot of people did, not just me. They were on a really crappy record company called Rotten Records. They were the best-selling band on Rotten Records, the only one who hit the Billboard chart and all that. To this day, they're still not on Spotify because Rotten Records won't sign the agreement.
Herwenberg's here. We did a show for Alex Skolnick's jazz trio. He was a nice guy. So
he is one of the nicest guys. He's the lead guitarist in Testament, the band I just mentioned. He has a whole bunch of funny interviews. It's good. He could be funny about this stuff instead of bitter like most of them. But hear it out of the horse's mouth, not secondhand from me. He's been through the ringer in the music industry.
All right. Well, we're coming up at the top of the hour here, and y'all thought this was going to be a shill stream to sell stuff on Black Friday. Okay, it kind of sort of is.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. We're basically going to say, go hit up Brian's eBay page. It's in the link. I'm going to make sure that the description now has the correct link because I probably have the same invalid one I had before. I don't know where I got that from that it copied like that, but I will get that corrected. And also, if you are looking for, reading material, or if you just want to support the site, the links to our Amazon store are below, where we have now in softcover, nice and floppy, Bulletproof, book number 1. This just came in this week. And of course, The Devil You Know, our anthology of horror stories. And here's a little known secret that some people know and some people don't. If you want to support the site, but you don't want any of the books that you see on our Amazon links, that's fine. I don't want you to buy something you don't want. But if you do need something from Amazon, if you'll remember this and you want to help us out, go click on one of our links to one of our Amazon things. Then don't buy the thing that you don't want, but move from there to the thing you do. Because what Amazon will do is, yes, if you click on an Amazon ad to a item, the person who ran that ad will get a referral fee for that item, but they will also get referrals for anything else you buy on Amazon having come through that link. So if you go through our link to one of our paperbacks and you don't want that, but you want to get that Lamborghini for $20,000, go for it. We'll take the referral fee on that just as happily as we would on one of our books. So, and of course, we've shown the T-shirt store. I think there's a link to that in the description. If there's not, I should probably fix our description. And that's our hard sell. There you go. That's the shilling that we did. Ryan, you'll
be yeah. My quick 1-sentence shill is: if you need stocking stuffers, I've got you covered. Anything you can imagine. I don't think size-wise bigger than, I don't know, a VHS tape. That kind of, all this can be out to you quick. And that's the other thing, especially if you want the t-shirts and the items that they're limited quantities, buy them now. The quicker you can buy them before Monday, the faster they'll get to you. If you wait till Monday or after that, it's going to hit the bottleneck. And that's not just for me, that's for everybody.
Well, consider things are already shipping slow all year long because of COVID, and then throw Christmas on top of that.
Yep.
So you know how slow it is at Christmas. You know how slow it's been all year. Tomorrow's the day to pretty much buy everything you want so that it's guaranteed to get to you on time.
And so you can get the item you want. I mean, I've got a couple heartbreaking incidences since I've started moving these t-shirts where someone like RJ will say, "Hey, I want to buy this in the morning." I go, "Okay, cool. I'll pull it out of the thing." And then before the morning comes around, someone else bought it overnight. You're like, "Hey, what happened?" Someone else got it. They paid me already. Don't let it happen to you.
Don't let it the online stores are open 24 hours. They're open all night. So get in there and get it now.
Mine set up to process automatically. All you got to do is click and go.
Because Christmas is going to be like Thanksgiving was. We're not going to be allowed to get together and be with people. So not only do you have to get it shipped to you, you then have to wrap it up and ship it back again to whomever you're going to give it to. So allow time early.
I know we've got a more, not underground, that's the wrong word, but a more educated audience about how the comic books and this kind of alternative media thing works. If you want a crowdfunding book, it's the same thing. Get it now because it's going to be a while before second printings come around, and who knows what's going to take off in terms of popularity and all of that. Don't wait. Don't wait.
Exactly. All right, Brian, glad to have you on here.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Next Saturday, not this Saturday, but Saturday after for the LCS guys show.
9 days from now or something.
Yeah, something like that. And then 2 weeks after that, we will be having the LCS guys holiday extravaganza. And yes, I have been lining up a list of celebrity guests who will be joining us. You are not going to want to miss any of that. Just to see who walks on. It's gonna be like one of these television events back in the day. It's like we'll just be talking, and Frank Sinatra will walk in and tip his hat.
Bring that back. Well, like the Dean Martin roast where they'd all had 3 gin and tonics before they even walk out on stage.
I think
I'm not encouraging alcoholism. I'm just saying you've seen like Ellen and those talk shows. Everyone has a stick up their ass. Could you just lighten up and be yourself for 5 minutes, please? That's what we're gonna do.
All right. Well, Brian, thanks for being on the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
We will see you again next Saturday. Everybody in chat, appreciate you being here. Appreciate any of the links you click on. If you don't, just keep coming on and listen to us. We appreciate it anyway. Thanks for interacting. Good night, guys.